These bad dads make it hurt.
Now,
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Funvocacy number 12. Today, our topic is ban fail. Incidentally, today is also the first year anniversary of the vape ban in India. The government of India introduced an ordinance on the 18th of September 2019, abruptly banning all types of commerce in vaping devices and heat not burn, e-hookah, etc., etc. That included selling, storage, transportation, import, export, manufacture, etc. So all kinds of commercial activity were banned. And today, 1 year later, we are here at Funvocacy to talk about how this year has been, what has been the effect of the ban, what has been the life in this ban period of 1 year, and how vapers are coping, how many have gone back to smoking, and how many have continued to vape in spite of the ban. Uh, I should remind you that usage was not banned and usage is still allowed today. This was also clarified by the Ministry of Health, and uh, it is still legal to vape in India, but commercial activity is banned, so the sellers can no longer sell. Today, joining us is Jagannath Sarangpani, Director AVI, and he's been a regular feature on one of our advocacies. So I think you all know him. We have two more special guests with us today. Both have appeared earlier on Funvocacy, and we know them. Welcome, Dr. Vikas Jain. He's a pediatrician from Indore. He's a vapor himself and a very outspoken and informed advocate of vaping. And also was with us is Soham Ramtek, who is a long-time vapor. He has been vaping for almost 10 years now. He's a young photographer, and from his background, you can see that he doesn't like the ban at all, and he's got that hashtag ban fail right there. So today at 4 o'clock, we did a Zoom protest rally online. Because of the pandemic. We couldn't do it physically. Although some physical rally was done in the last 1 week in various cities, but we couldn't have many people. And because of social distancing norms, we couldn't gather large crowds. But today on the Zoom rally, we had quite a few people, and it was a good turnout. And many people spoke against the ban and their opinion on how the last 1 year has been. So to kick off today's proceedings, uh, Jaggi, can you give us a small sum up of how the last 1 year has been?
uh, thanks, Manish. And hello, everybody. See, it's actually shouldn't be funvocacy today, right? It's advocacy because it is actually, a sad day, and it's 1 year thereafter. It caught us all by surprise, right? That was pretty much we were talking about how it could be affecting us and so on and so forth. There was a lot of whispers going on, but this caught us by surprise. And it was in the form of an ordinance. That's what it came. And what the hurry was to bring a ordinance of this nature, banning all forms of e-cigarettes, announced by the finance minister, not the health minister, which left a lot of people wondering as to what the behind the scenes activity really was for her to come and talk about a health issue, caught all of us by surprise, and we were all left wondering about it. However, while trying to justify the ban in the Calcutta High Court, the government actually said that the reason why they expedited this was because of the entry of a large e-cigarette manufacturer who had already announced their plans to come into the country.
Oh, they actually named Juul by name. I was
Yeah,
present in the court that
yeah,
time. So
exactly, right?
the Assistant Solicitor General himself was there.
Correct.
Additional or Assistant Solicitor General himself was there, and he named Juul by name. He said,
By name.
we did it in a hurry to stop Juul from entering India.
Exactly.
Anyway, continue, please.
So, you know, the reasons for that became pretty much obvious with that utterance. But then what it has meant is that we have about 10 lakh vapers by estimates done even by the GATT study, which they have announced and was also referred to as 0.03% of the population,
0.02%,
something like that,
yeah,
percent of the population, which roughly translates to about 1 million vapers here in the country. And overnight, their access to safer delivery system for nicotine was withdrawn. And some of us were fortunate, anybody who had a hoarding tendency, like me, for example, I prepare for Armageddon, okay? So I had enough and more to keep me going. But even at that point of time, at one point of time or the other, stocks are going to get, depleted and going to run out. And that has put the entire movement, which actually started by former smokers looking for a safer delivery system for nicotine, has been thrown into absolute peril. And it snuffed it out effectively. And the government, when you look at it, has not done anything to help people transition out of smoking. And the people who had transitioned out and were into vaping, for example, they did nothing. They were, the vaping community was pretty much left out to hang out to dry, which is not the way it is done. And that shows the hollowness of the so-called health angle in looking at it. This appears more and more like a financial reason to protect their investments. And there is also, look at it, and Harshvardhan, our honorable health minister, seems to have been rewarded by this by being made the chairman of WHO, right? So it almost seems like a quid pro quo that he has enacted. And that's what we are dealing with. What has it meant for vapers? We are struggling. What did it do to the industry? It's driven it underground. That's what it has done. Devices, liquids are still available. We had conscious sellers who were taking a lot of care and attention to sell only to people who were above the legal age of smoking. In fact, even a lot of sellers were actually having it at 21, whereas the legal age for smoking is 18. So they had these kinds of guidelines that they were enforcing, and these things have been lost. And today it's completely unregulated. There are no measures to control, and the government has done nothing about it. So in fact, what it has done is we have actually started marching backwards. A lot of vapers have now turned to smoking because they don't have access, right? And this is the kind of problems. Absolutely. When you do look and consider it, we belong to the minority of countries. Some 36 countries have banned vaping. I mean, some
just to add to
countries.
That, UAE reversed its ban. They actually promote vaping now. Hong Kong reversed its ban. And there are more countries which are
Philippines, as recent as last week.
Yeah, as recent as last week. And the countries where the ban has been there for a long time, like Mexico or Thailand, Mexico has had a ban for almost 10 years now, or maybe more than that. And the ban there is absolutely ineffective. They have a thriving black market, and the number of vapers is growing daily over there, which is a similar situation I can see down the line for India. The black market already exists and it is growing. And if the ban is not lifted, it's only going to make the black market stronger. New Zealand has reversed its ban. South Africa, Russia, they have all reversed bans and they are now regulating vaping. So India is going on the same path as maybe Brazil, Mexico, Saudi Arabia, and against what UK and Canada and New Zealand and the other developed countries, almost all of Western Europe regulates vaping. So
My
It
mind,
is, it's a very sad.
the best thing was UAE reversing the ban completely. They've not regulated, they've just reversed the ban. They've seen science.
I recently saw a guideline from the UAE government which says that use a sufficiently high nicotine strength so that you don't feel the urge for smoking, which is the right approach, which is the right advice to give. The government is actually telling the citizens that don't use low nicotine product, use a sufficiently high nicotine product so that you don't feel the urge to smoke anymore. That's a UAE government guideline.
Yes.
Which is true. I mean, if you do remember how all of us were in a position to quit smoking, was that we started with a high strength nicotine, right? Back in the day, they were all freebase, and so we started with 12 and 18 and 6 mg and so on, and we have come progressively down. So it is in our own interest to do that, which is what we have done, and we find that our own body is unable to take the high strength nicotine after a certain point of time, and in our own interest we start lowering it, which is what has been the practice. This has been taken away, and the government has unfortunately not done anything to understand or even read the science out there behind it, and have, now that the ban has been done, it's completely forgotten, right? I mean, it's just been shoved away into the cupboard and locked away and forgotten, because the proof is in the pudding, right? Dr. Soham, when you look at it, what has the government really done after enforcing the ban to help, say, for example, a smoker quit, or even, for example, a vapor who had already quit smoking? What has the government done for any of these people?
Nothing at all.
Soham, what's your take on the situation of the common vapor? I believe you can speak on behalf of all the lay people in India who were not actually part of the industry, who were just using vaping as a tool to stay away from cigarettes.
Exactly. So in the time that I have vaped all these years, I've always tried to reach out to every smoker that I come across, whether it be a friend or a relative of a friend. I will personally go to them and hand them out one of my kits that I have lying around and ask them to try it out and see if they can feel that they can shift to it and if there is any difference in their own experience. And over the course, I have successfully made at least a couple of dozen people switch to vaping from smoking. And um, after a while, they would come and tell me that it has helped them in their health, in their livelihood, in their family. They are feeling better now, and it has a positive effect on them. But then all of a sudden, the government goes out and completely bans it and makes it the villain, that vaping is some kind of a drug or vaping is something bad that shouldn't be done, even though we don't have any proof of it being any more harmful than a regular cigarette, which is easily available in every nook and corner of the country. And even people who are underage or just college going students or even school going students, they have easy access to procuring a cigarette, whereas something which is globally now proven by many scientists and many bodies who have done their testing, that there is something which is much less harmful than a regular cigarette, which is available for you to try. But India just bans it from everywhere, and all the headings and all the media that we got is that now vaping is banned. What that does to a normal person's mind is that they know cigarette is harmful, but because it is not promoted as bad in the media, they don't think that it is that bad and it is okay, it is socially accepted. Whereas the less harmful product, which is vaping, it is not promoted in a better way, Instead, it is being shown as a villain. That's why if you
No, go on. I
yeah.
wanted to, yeah.
So because now there are two kinds of people. One who had just given vaping a try and wanted to see if it can work for them or not, and the other major population who has no idea about vaping. In such a situation, when the government bans it completely and tells you that it is wrong, it is bad, it is evil, and puts a complete ban on it countrywide, what happens to the psychology of a normal person is that they start believing that false information.
Yes,
No,
yes.
you see, to add to that point, Soham, look at it. We are still in the grips of the pandemic, but there was a news report that, when the pandemic and the lockdown was there for 40 something days, there were news reports that nearly 70 people of smokers actually tried to quit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a very, very
70%.
significant population. Yeah, 70%.
70%.
Right.
At least
Try
thought
to
about quitting because they
at
were not
least thought
getting
about it.
cigarettes. Yeah.
Right. Now,
Because of the circumstances, it was a
and
step that
exactly. Now, this was such a brilliant opportunity for the government, if it was indeed serious about harm reduction, to actually give NRTs, provide NRTs, make them available, make them cheaper. If you were serious about saying, no, we want to keep vaping aside, what did they do about any of the other NRTs that are legally being sold over the counter? They did nothing. And if vaping were actually there, I mean, we have 40 million vapers around the world today. It is
42 long
yeah,
ago. I mean, many
right.
months ago
So
it was 42 million. I guess it would be
correct.
closer
So
to 50 million now.
so you have that many million former smokers who have switched to vaping. Now, this was such an opportunity if you actually wanted to make a difference to the community at large, and if health indeed was your mandate, you could have offered it at this particular time, and you would have had an incredible change rate from
response to it.
smokers, yeah, to working with less harmful delivery systems for your nicotine dependence, which was taken away, which was never. This opportunity has been lost by us, was squandered away because
Yeah.
of the short-sightedness of the government and nothing else. That's
Yeah.
sad truth.
See, out of the
We have
42 million people, most of them must have thought at some point that they wanted to quit smoking for good, but never got the opportunity or the push to actually go about it. This pandemic was the perfect time where they could have done that positively. Maybe because of the isolation at home, being with the family at all times, the lack of availability of tobacco, and many other scenario that we felt, and this could have proven to be a good opportunity if the government really cared about it, the health
Absolutely.
of the people. Yeah.
we have some viewer feedback. Satyam says that his talks are over and two of his devices are confiscated because security personnel are not informed that vaping is not banned for personal consumption. They only cite that vaping is banned. Satyam, there are two things here. First, if your device was confiscated at the airport, then that is because the DGC had come out with an order after the ban that says that carrying of e-cigarettes in flights in India is not allowed. Although that order is not justified as per logic, and it is being fought in the. It is we are planning a legal battle against that. But as of now, that order stands. So carrying vapes in flights in India is not allowed as on date. But if they were confiscated at any other place, then I suggest that you should appeal against that. And if for future you can keep that tweet and that order, that clarification that has been given by the ministry, you should keep that handy in your mobile. So if you ever face a situation outside of an airport where they want to confiscate your device or in any other way harass you
Or
for
you're
vaping,
online. You're vaping online.
if you're vaping online. So you can show them that and tell them that the order, the law, now it's an act. It's no longer an ordinance. Later, an act was passed. So that it's a very small act, 3, 4, 5 pages max. You can keep that on the mobile as well. That PDF is freely available on the internet. So the act nowhere says that vaping is banned. It only says commercial activity is banned. The next feedback we have is that personal usage is not banned, but procuring e-liquids, yeah, we all know that procuring stuff has become more difficult. But I would also like to add that vaping was invented by vapers, by the common man. It was not made by a scientist or a large corporation. So it was invented by people like you and me, and it is made by people like you and me. Self-help is the best help. We have a few other feedbacks as well. Arin says that our health minister in parliament said that 95% harm is like jumping from the 10th floor instead of the 14th floor. Either will kill you. It seems our learned, honorable minister is very weak in maths. 5%, 95% safer means if you compare the 14th floor, it's 0.7 floors. So that's not even the first floor. 14th floor typically is about 150 feet. 5% of that is about 7.5 feet. You can actually jump from 7.5 feet with almost no harm to yourself. So that's how safe vaping is. Doctor, what do you say about that? How safe is vaping?
How safe is vaping? I would see the world says it is 95% safer. Now I'm not going to go against the world, the statistics, but all I can say is see the science. The science says the part of a cigarette that kills is the tar, is the tobacco specific nitrosamines. Now these things are not present in a vape liquid. One. Two, a cigarette contains more nicotine and you're taking it in less than 10 minutes, you're finishing off a cigarette. Less amount of nicotine that you vape throughout the day is, in fact, you take on less nicotine during the day when you're vaping as compared to when you're smoking. So how can cigarette smoking be, or how can vaping be worse than smoking? It's basic logic. I really can't understand what the government of India, why couldn't they see logic? Forget science, see logic, man.
I think only, yeah. Sorry, go on, yeah.
No, please continue.
I think the logic or the point that they thought is that they took the children angle, that it is a gateway for children to get into smoking.
And now yeah. Let me ask you, as a vapor or anybody who's even once gone onto the net to find out what a vaping device costs, how much would a vaping device cost for you and me? Anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 rupees?
Yeah.
Why will an idiot not spend 15 rupees on a cigarette and spend 5,000 rupees on a vaping device as something to try out?
Yeah.
Now he's going to try out something for 5,000 and find that it's not giving him the kick of nicotine, or he's not even going to get the oomph value. Somebody's going to ask, "Abey ye kya kar raha hai tu?" Cigarette lekar ke wo nukkad pe khada hoega na, so people will look, ladka bada ho gaya, cigarette pee raha hai.
No, but doctor, I mean,
there have been cases.
You're a pediatrician, doc, and you have seen children grow. Anything that is banned, you tell a child you are not going to touch this, they're going to want it. Okay,
see,
you've already increased their curiosity value.
Any child beyond 15 years of age, any child, I'll say any child, they will be experimental. They will look for something, whatever, like you said, if you say this cannot be done, they will always try to do it.
Absolutely.
And then to find out, you say you can't smoke. The child will say, why? I want to find out what is smoking. So you say drinking is bad.
It's just natural, doc, because as a child, when he's 6 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old, he said ki bade ho jaoge tab karna. Can I go out alone with my friends? Bade ho jao tab karna. Can I live alone? Bade ho jaoge tab karna. Can I go to a dance party? Bade ho jaoge tab karna. So when they actually grow up, they want to do everything.
Yes. And experimental phase wo aata hai life mein when see, everybody is going to experiment. So give them a safer alternative to experimentation.
Exactly.
See, I'm going to go slightly egalitarian. why is it that sex education is taught in school? They say have safe sex. Why is it that condoms are promoted? Because
Harm reduction.
they don't, harm reduction. Damn it. Why is it that tobacco harm reduction is not a priority?
We can argue that just because they are teaching or telling people about condoms and safe sex, they might be enticed to try it when they were much younger. But
No,
that
I
is
don't
not how,
think so. No, it's not. Wait, you've got school curriculum which says safe sex. There are classes for safe sex. There's sex education in school. If there's sex education in school, why did you start that? Because you knew that people would experiment. After a certain age, sexuality is something that people experiment with. Now the same thing is with other substances also. Tobacco, or for that matter, nowadays I'm seeing a lot of experimentation in the maybe 20 to 25 or 18 to 25 year of age, where people are experimenting with more substances, more than tobacco, alcohol or harder substances. So give them a safer alternative. Give them a better choice. If
at the
you're
same
letting
time,
them,
we have to educate them as well. Just giving them the options that these are the 10 options you have, but don't do this. That is not enough. We have to give them the information as well. This is smoking, this is vaping, these are the good, these are the bads. And you have to educate them. You have to give out the information. So instead of banning it completely, just saying blatantly that it's bad, you tell them that these are the things that it constitutes. These are the effects. This is the result that we have tested out, and then give them the option.
I'd just like to hijack this meeting for a minute. I did not know Soham was a vapor for the last 10 years. Seriously, Soham, I would really like to know how has vaping affected you as compared to when you were smoking and having been a vapor for 10 years. What are the side effects that you've had for the last 10 years?
None that could come to mind. See, that was one of the reasons why I got into vaping, and I promoted it so much, and I asked everybody to quit smoking, or at least try to quit smoking. Because when you're smoking, every smoker you ask them this question, that does it have any ill effect on you? Their immediate reaction would be yes. Because as you progress as you continue to smoke, you can see the ill effects on your body. But as soon as you switch to vaping, not immediately, but after a period of time, your body starts to recover itself, because there is no tar going in your body. There is no burning, there's no heat, there is nothing damaging your lungs, burning your lungs directly. So with time, your body starts to heal itself, and you see the differences. And that's what I saw when
what differences did you see?
I could run longer. I don't feel the need to stop every 12 steps I try to go up the stairs, or when I go hiking or anything like that. So that's the effect that you feel. The difference in your smell, the difference in your breath, the just every day
The
life,
morning
it
cough?
changes. Exactly, yeah. So that is one by one, as your body starts to heal, you and after being 10 years, you don't even realize the changes it has, because it now the normal body, normal health has become a normalcy. So I can't even stand in the same room where someone else is smoking, because it's just not tolerable anymore. So at least give every person.
One of our viewers says that I could taste vanilla when I was vaping. Now that I have gone back to smoking, even Mississippi mud does not hit my taste buds. My taste buds are completely dead.
Exactly, taste.
I'm
That's one
really
of the
sorry for
biggest factors.
that. I'm really sorry for that viewer, because I sincerely hope he just gets back to vaping. He shouldn't go back to smoking.
But then there's the lack of availability.
Exactly.
Because it is banned, we don't see. I know, yeah. When the ban was announced, I hoarded myself with every possible gadget and juices that I could, and maybe I overdid it, but we couldn't oversee how long this would go. We are still fighting. This is 1 year.
And however much you have hoarded, one day it is all going to run out.
It is
I mean,
going
you
to end.
couldn't have hoarded for all your life.
Exactly, because there were so many different options of liquids and devices, and there were some favorites. Like I like this particular flavor, and but I didn't just hold that one bottle for like tens of quantity. So I tried to hold different types of flavors. But now, when it's been 1 year, that particular flavor that I liked, it's over. So now I have to shift to my second best favorite, then third best favorite, and after that, soon it will be just whatever is available. And after that, I'm dreading to get to a point when I just don't have anything left. What
I
next?
I
Then I'm
agree with
forced
you.
to
No,
smoke.
no,
Then
I
I'm
I I agree with you, Soham, because I'm someone who was a very heavy smoker. I started late, and so I had to catch up with every smoker that had started smoking before me. And so before I knew it, I was belting 40 cigarettes a day average. At one point of time, I even hit 60 cigarettes a day.
well,
And that's the kind of number that I was belting and vaping. And it's more than 5 years now that I've quit. I've never been healthier. And but then I have to confess that, what I would classify myself is I'm still a smoker who hasn't smoked for five something years. That's what I am. Okay. It's like Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm still a smoker, and I'm just that one cigarette away to getting back to smoking. And I need to keep my resolve going, and vaping has been helping me, steer clear of that path. I've never been fitter in my life. I mean, I'm as fit as I was in the 20s. I get my physicals done every year, and I'm really at the peak and prime of my health wise. But that's the fear. Sooner or later, even I'm going to run out, and if my juices, I won't run out of devices because I have rebuildables, and so all I need is wire and cotton and batteries, and so I won't run out of devices. But it's the e-liquids which I have a problem with, which we will run out of eventually. And what comes in, we will have suspect as far as quality is concerned, because it is from the gray market, so we really don't know how they are. And so I do run that risk of perhaps slipping back into smoking, because unlike you, I still love the smell of smoke. I won't lie.
Oh,
You're one
I
of the.
think there's no smoker
Okay,
who
right.
who doesn't like the smell of smoke.
So
But it is that thing that keeps us away from smoking, that we have an alternative
ab-
which is keeping us away from smoking.
absolutely. And so that's the reason why I have never had the urge of picking up a cigarette from the day I picked up a vape, actually. So I didn't even go through this transition phase wherein I was a dual user of sorts and so on. And and going back to what Doc was also talking about, children vaping and so on. My son picked up smoking when he was in school. Okay, footballer going out for tournaments and this that. So he and his gang of friends picked up a packet of cigarettes. I was a smoker then. I was a heavy smoker. Imagine me advising my son not to smoke with a cigarette in my hand. It is so fallacious, right? It's an unwinnable argument. So what do? And at that point of time, I had no intention of quitting. I didn't have options. I mean, I tried all those, aversion
Patches.
therapies, patches, pills, chewing gum. Those only made me want to get back into smoking with a vengeance, because those are all failed experiments, literally failed experiments. The only thing that I was able to pick up, and from day one I quit. There's never been a reason to look back. And so the minute I got into vaping and I found it was working for me, and that's what I did. I introduced it to my son and said, "Hey, if you really do need that nicotine, I think you should pick something like this, which is a far safer alternative." And sure enough, that's what he did pick, and that's worked for me. And so that's why I believe it will work for anybody else. Someone like me was able to quit 40 cigarette a day habit,
Anybody
and
anybody can quit
anybody.
smoking, because see, quitting smoking cold turkey is difficult, because we've discussed that in one of our
Yes,
Funvocacy episodes. We've dedicated it to that. But here, quitting smoking by replacing your nicotine craving by a different product. You're cutting out the harm while you're still satisfying your craving. So with a little bit of dedication, a little bit of will, you can do it with very little will. I mean, I have seen cases of accidental quitting. People who had no intention to quit, but they tried vape and they liked it and they quit. Anyway, we have some feedback from these viewers also. Bruni Saint says that he surprised his doctor with a major drop in his high blood pressure when he shifted from smoking to vaping. A person with the handle Labworks Design says that he's a 51-year-old vapor that has emphysema. Yet I can do things that I was never able to do when I was smoking. And Bruni Saint also says that vaping offers so much to a country's rise in health. Of course, vaping offers so much. Vaping per se does not offer anything towards the rise in health, but reducing the incidence of smoking in a country offers very much in health. Recently, we earlier used to think, based on a 2010-2011 study, we used to think that the economic impact of smoking on India is about 1,04,000 crores. But recently, updated figures have come from 2018, and the economic impact of smoking in India is about 2 lakh crores per year. An amount of 2 lakh crores per year Indian economy loses because of reduced productivity, because of morbidity and mortality. If you compare that with the tax collection that comes from tobacco products, that is less than 50,000 crores in a year. So the government is earning less than 50,000 crores in a year, and the GDP, the country's economy loses about 2 lakh crores in a year. As any Bania will tell you, this does not make economic sense. I mean, even that Nukkar ka panwala who's selling cigarettes will tell you that this does not make business sense. So,
yeah.
I think the fear that they have is if they.
So just a moment. Rizwan Bhai has finally joined us.
Yes.
So welcome, Rizwan. And as you can see, today we are talking about the ban, the last 1 year, the situation in which the ban came and how the last 1 year has been and what the situation is now. So quickly, if you can give us your views on this 1 year occasion of vape ban in India.
Thank you, Manish, and hello, everyone.
Hello.
But it's just a sad day. It's something that I was really like, let's not really even think of celebrating at all. But then we are not celebrating; we are literally mourning, because in my opinion, in India, we really do not value harm reduction, the aspect of harm reduction. We are looking at vaping as an individual component, whereas the bigger picture is all about tobacco harm reduction. I mean, that's what it is all about, right? And Manish, what you rightly pointed out about the failing productivity because of health issues, and tobacco being one of the major player in reducing the productivity level of our youth, especially the youth. Because I mean, while the government was busy banning adults from making their own choice of harm reduction, we still have underage children buying cigarettes in the loose. So, it's, I mean, it's a total failure as a policy from as a citizen who votes and, who considers my rights. It's a total failure, this ban. And I think they should reconsider in the long run. I mean, that's what I feel about it.
Just to give you a little more statistics, it is estimated worldwide that more than half of all long-term smokers will have some health complications because of, all 100% will have health issues, but over half smokers will die because of their long-term habit of smoking. So anybody who smoked for a long time and continuously, what we typically know as smoker, is going to have some health complications in his later years, and it will play a role in the death of more than half of the long-term smokers. If you look at it another way, On an average, about 28,000 people die in India for various reasons, diseases, accidents, etc., etc. All combined, about 28,000 people die in India every day, out of which 3,600 die because of tobacco.
You
That's
see, looking at that kind of statistic, you got to feel for the smoker. We were all smokers, and I can say with confidence, not just with all the panelists who are here and everyone who is watching, but every smoker out there hasn't had the intention to quit, but has not been able to take that one step. Now, this is where NRTs come into play, right? And you got to really feel for it, because here is one effective tool that all of us, okay, former smokers, former tobacco users of some sort, were actually able to transition away from it painlessly. You see, it is not the question of, you take some pain to get out of that thing. Here was something which was painless, right? Every other thing, you take your chewing gum, you don't know how to use it. I couldn't. I would end up vomiting every time. I tried those aversion therapy pills. I think Doc tried it as well.
Yeah, twice.
Yeah, right. I mean, I would have dizzy
Varenicline.
spells, right? Yeah.
Varenicline, bupropion. What did you
Champix.
say?
No,
Champix.
Varenicline, Champix, twice.
Yeah,
Two
I did.
courses.
Champix, right?
Same with me. 2 courses of varenicline, and that affects your head, man.
So
Oh
yeah,
yes,
it messes.
yes.
It messes.
That affects your head,
right?
I did say on one of the Funvocacies that the first time it was all right. I quit for about 8 months. Then I started smoking, and as Jaggi said, with a vengeance. I was maybe about 6 to 8 cigarette smoker a day. I tried to quit, and I went from 8 cigarettes to about 15. And then I was like, shit, man, I'm smoking too much. So I tried the second course, and within about 15, 20 days, I started getting night terrors. I started having very, very, very bad hallucinations. I used to get up in the middle of the night thinking that somebody was choking me. I still continued with it for a month, and then it was like, I can't do it. There was a time that I did contemplate suicide also because of those thoughts. And then I just stopped that. And then I went from 15 cigarettes to 25 within less than a week. When I found vaping, it was, I quit cigarettes in less than 7 days after I started smoking, after I started vaping. Cigarettes was gone in 7 days. It's been, what, 4.5 years now that I've not even wanted to look at a cigarette.
No, and you see, none of those side effects of these other NRTs and these other approved, NRTs, vaping doesn't have any one of these side effects, right? It is the most painless and easy and safe transition methods. And it's also backed with science, except that nobody wants to look at it. People are looking at science papers that are debunked and that are deliberately propped up there by people who have very, very strong affiliations to either the big pharma, or in India's case, big tobacco. Pockets are lined, whatever it is, but they are working with such papers that are not peer reviewed. And a lot of these papers that are being quoted are all getting debunked and actually retracted, right?
Yes.
But the media is not telling you about that.
That's the sad truth. That's the sad truth,
It's a hypocritical decision. They make the lesser of the evil go, and they let the actual evil stay in the market.
Well, it's got to do with policy making, isn't it? I mean, it should be in the best interest of the entire nation. And if we look at it right now, our health policy is nowhere close to that. So, I mean, expectations versus reality. We really need to be heard on this one. The policy change is a must.
so true. But who would have the gumption to go after and actually bell the cat? That's the kind of thing. Everybody is trying to take the easy way out here. Our wonderful government, and through none other than the life insurance. Okay, I mean, these are life insurance companies that have ownership in the worst killer of them all, right? There's a killer, which can absolutely be controlled through tobacco industry, and they own shares in such a large corporation, controlling interest. So no real policy decision can actually be taken because they own more than 20%. And anybody with some knowledge of company law will know that 28% means you have the right to block board decisions, and you need ratification.
Not just block.
Right.
Actually, with the other shareholders reducing their holding, right now, actually, Government of India is the largest shareholder of ITC.
Yeah.
There you have it. There you have it. And so look at this kind of a situation wherein they are not doing anything about it. Makes you wonder, right? When you start looking at it, and it's not just you can't just blackball the current government in power, though they are the ones who brought the ban in, right? They're the ones who brought the ban in, yes, but every previous government has not done anything about owning shares in India's largest tobacco company.
Yeah, if you look at the debate in Parliament, if you can call it a debate, because none of the proposed amendments were even discussed, leave apart adopted, and they basically paid lip service. They went through the motions of a debate. But anyway, whatever was spoken by the various MPs, apart from one or two people who actually spoke a little bit from research and knowledge, most of them don't even know what an e-cigarette is. Just to cite one example, the Bhojpuri actor Ravi Kishan, who is now a member of parliament, he said that e-cigarettes contain crystals. What crystals? Does he even know what a crystal is? Forget e-cigarettes. He may not be knowing what an e-cigarette is, but does he know what a crystal is?
No.
What crystals is he talking about? Does e-cigarette contain methamphetamine or whatever that is called, meth for short? So, I mean, this was such a weird that was such a weird statement. I mean, then they talked about Diwali. Now, if they had the same debate was happening 3 months earlier, I would have understood that they used Diwali as one of the reasons. But in September, when the ordinance came out, and in December, when the bill was actually discussed in Parliament and the act was passed, it was known all over the world that Diwali is caused by contaminated THC cartridges, not even proper THC cartridges, black market contaminated THC cartridges containing vitamin E acetate. Now, that has no connection to, that is like saying that somebody used a syringe to inject poison. So now let's ban syringes.
Absolutely.
Forget the fact that it can be used to deliver medicine. No, people use syringes to take drugs. People can use syringes to inject poison. So we are going to ban all syringes.
No, if you look at Australia on those same grounds of using contaminated syringes, when you actually went into Australia and their program to deal with the drug problem, they started distributing free syringes. Look, I know you're going to use in any case. Here is a free syringe. At least it's clean. So keep yourself healthy and safe. But Australia is another place that I don't want to visit when it comes to talking about vaping, because they have been running in the wrong direction. But the problem with our MPs they are not accountable. Okay, they can get away with talking rubbish. Okay, they talk lies, right? And they have their 15 seconds of fame almost, because they want to appear knowledgeable and they talk whatever they want. But who is there to question them? Who is there to pull them up? There is no one, and across the board, they talk nonsense and get away with it. That's the problem that we have.
Guys, have pressure cookers been banned? Because if I remember correctly, pressure cookers on cycles.
Yeah, they should be. They should be.
Yeah, they should be banned.
They're next on the list. They're next on the list.
causing all the damn terrorist attacks. So pressure cookers need to be banned. And cycles need to be banned. Ahmedabad had the worst terrorist blast attacks using cycles.
Yep.
Why is the government not looking at science? When you have scientific data in front of you that e-cigarettes do not contain tar. I can cite one example. There was a conference in which the panelists, there was a group of 8 panelists who came up with this stupid idea that e-cigarettes contain cells, batteries, and the cadmium and nickel inside the battery gets absorbed into the e-liquid, and that is the heavy metal inside the e-liquid that is causing problems. I really cannot understand how these learned people, or I would say idiots, think that a battery can leak into an e-liquid. It's a bloody battery. It can't leak. If it's leaking, it's going to blast. How stupid can they be? And I would say the hierarchy of the politicians are equally
Misinformed.
brained, not misinformed. They have a lot of brain for it. They're brained.
I mean, Vikas, in that context, ironically, that research was funded by Bloomberg's one of those.
The Mr. Bloomberg.
Yeah, I mean the great Mr. Bloomberg.
Great
I mean,
Mr. Mike Bloomberg, the 78-year-old billionaire from New York. This is for the audience benefit. He is a very, very rich person, and he is on a personal crusade. He has some economic interest as well, but more than that, he's on a personal crusade against vaping, and he's spending crazy amounts of money. I believe it's somewhere in the $200+ million per year to malign vaping worldwide, and he's funding a host of NGOs in various countries. Almost all anti-tobacco and anti-vaping NGOs in India are directly or indirectly funded by Mr. Mike Bloomberg. So what in effect, Jaggi, what in effect is happening is that Bloomberg is dictating all the lobbying that is happening in India, and the Indian government is listening to that. So in effect, Mike Bloomberg is deciding policy for India.
No, that's the sad truth. If you look at it, what kind of a colonial mindset can we really have? I mean, if you look at the Union paper recently, right, of saying, well, e-cigarettes are all fine for the Western world, but for LIMCs, LMIC countries, the low and middle income group countries, e-cigarettes should be banned for them. And they're actually promoting this kind of stuff. I mean, what kind of a colonial mindset do you have that actually says we will start differentiating you based on your income levels as far as your country's GDP is concerned to decide whether you are permitted to use a healthier alternative for your nicotine delivery, or you can smoke and die because you will not be allowed to have access to such devices. How hollow is it? And I'm surprised that the government actually congratulates themselves and listens to such kind of stuff. But the problem is, here is the Bloomberg initiative that is involved with their army of NGOs that are entrenched into government in so many various levels on so many different things as far as
not just NGOs,
right?
If you look at World Health Organization, WHO, their European arm says regulate, and their Southeast Asian arm says ban.
Absolutely.
So WHO having different, WHO SEARO, which says Southeast Asia Regional Office, they say ban, and the European office says regulate. I mean, how can WHO have different policies for different regions of the world?
I was just wondering, is Bloomberg just is taking care of the finances of the NGOs, or is it into the government also? Is it funding the government in some way?
You can ask, but the government was answered. Just to give you an example, recently, Dhaval Gogate, who's a member of our board, he filed an RTI, right to information, and asked that if the government has a tobacco control program, I think you're aware, and where it is very underfunded and not properly implemented, they do have a helpline where you call and they won't call you back, they won't give you any help. So he asked the government that, have you given any subsidies for NRTs and nicotine replacement therapy? If yes, then what is the quantum of that subsidy? Have you given any money to the state governments to buy NRT and give to smokers? And they say we have no such data. It's not that we have not given, it's not that we have given very little or we don't plan to give. They said we don't have any such data. So you can ask, the government will say we have no such data.
Yeah,
Well,
Rizwan.
Mani, on that context, what you're saying that we don't have data, the current dispensation does not have data on the doctors who've died in line of duty for COVID. So having data for
Yeah.
NRT distribution is a long shot for this current dispensation. So, I mean, the expectation from the current government is we should lower the bar much below from our previous governments that we have had, and that is the reason why they have chest thumped banning of vapes, because they think that in some unscientific manner that tobacco harm reduction does not exist.
As for the tobacco control policy, what does the tobacco control policy actually have to help a present smoker to quit smoking? I would say zero. The only thing that they have to say is stop smoking. If it was so bloody easy to stop smoking, everybody would have stopped smoking. Every smoker, I don't think there's even a single smoker who really doesn't want to stop smoking.